Larry beat the crap out of me when I was teaching. He enjoyed it. I didn't so much. But it was a good workout. How many of you said the Pledge of Allegiance this morning? Liberty and justice for all. What's liberty?
Darren, tell them.
Anybody? Ferris? Anybody? Anybody? Ferris? What? You want to tell me. I know you do. Look, yeah. You guys know what liberty is? Do you know why? It's because you're all in an enslaved mentality culture. You're enslaved to your technology. You're enslaved to your cultural icons. And no one ever talks to you about freedom and liberty. Mr. Kaufman, what would happen if you stopped showing up here?
Probably find somebody to replace me.
What would that do to your budget?
They'd probably stop paying me, and you have to live on beans and rice.
If you could afford it, unless you grew it yourself. What's freedom? If you don't remember anything else, and I'm going to talk a lot in the next 40 minutes. If you don't remember anything else, remember this. You get about as much freedom in the United States of America as you can afford. And I'm telling you, this culture, you know, every generation's like, you're going to hell. You're not. But it's very different. And I don't think necessarily, and I'm just talking about in one slice, this financial thing. Love the music. I love entertainment. I used to do all the plays here. I was the drama director. I have a master's in theater arts, which uniquely qualifies me to be a financial advisor. Not. But I'm not afraid to get up and talk to people. Your culture, your generation, is in danger of losing the freedoms that this country was founded on. We had a guy who's going to the Marines last class. And it breaks my, I'm a captain in the State Guard, so I serve. And it breaks my heart to know that he's going to risk his life for a definition of freedom that's very different than those in World War II, the Civil War, Revolutionary War. And I think it all goes back, I think a majority of it goes back to how we're taught or not taught how to properly manage money. Because you can either become free or you can stay enslaved. And all these government, hey, 48% of the population is on some form of welfare. That's not America. That's called poor decisions. On our politicians' part. So the freedom that you aspire to as a young person who's got their whole life ahead of them, who's excited about new stuff and change, and then you gotta start paying bills. Bummer. Anybody know what an average car payment is? Anybody pay for their own car here? We have a car payment? No? Last class there were a couple. You guys, a car payment, $350 to $500 a month. That's just to have the car. You know what I still have one teenager on my insurance. Well, she's 20. It's like $300 a month.
Yeah.
For just having insurance. Well, that's 4 cars, but still. Anybody know what a utility bill costs? Anybody pay their own electric at home? How about the water, the gas? Get this, you guys. This is what's different. And we need to talk about this in budgeting. In terms of your generation and my generation, well, I'm just saying, like, teenagers now or young people now as versus young people 40 years ago. My cell phone bill is $283 a month. My cable and internet bill is $240 a month. Now that's office and home.
Yeah, they're talking about in Akron raising the sewer and water by 40% in Akron. Who's going to be able to afford to pay those?
Well, what I'm saying is, cell phones weren't around when I was your age. You had to actually go to a phone hung on the wall. And then, if your parents were really cool, they got that real long cord so you could actually walk over and sit down somewhere. I watched my grandfather his whole life talking on the phone like this, because the cord was only this long. It was one of those party lines where it would ring, bing, bing, yeah. If it was for you, it was like too short, too long, bing, bing, bring, bring. You knew that was for his house. But if it was the other 6 people or 8 people, they all had different rings. So in the middle of the night, the phone would ring. It's not even for you. Party line. But the point is this: there's what, $500–600 a month that we never paid for 20 years ago. That you will. So if they're taking $300 to $500 a month out of my budget to pay for a cell phone and internet and cable, what am I not doing with that money?
Saving, investing.
They're enslaving me. See, I'm just trying to, I'm exaggerating, but I'm trying to make a point, you guys. They're enslaving me. You're enslaved to that technology. You know why? Because you are going to have to work longer. Wages aren't going up to be able to reach the end result, which isn't the end result, do whatever I want. Oh, does that sound like a definition of freedom? Do what I want, don't judge me. My son used to say to me all the time. I mean, joking. Do what you want. Are you getting that? You're being forced to spend money that, as Americans, we never used to spend before on things that we never had before. But incomes haven't gone up. Over the last 30 years, the median income adjusted for inflation has stayed the same. So we're not making any more money, but we're spending more on things. Where does the money not go now? Savings and retirement. So you've got decisions to make. What's so funny is I get older, I do not want to talk on the phone. And I have the internet because I kind of need it for the business right now, blah, 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 blah. I was confused when my dad, 74 years old, 2 or 3 years ago, got rid of his cell phone. And I'm thinking, how crazy. I mean, Dad, how do I get a hold of you? And he laughs and he says, send me an email. He taught computer information science at the University of Pittsburgh for 38 years. He does email. But he didn't want to be tied to that thing. As I get older, I could care less, really. Other than that, it's convenient. Just like you pay $6 at the Stop and Go, or the Starbucks for a super duper latte thingy. It's convenient, pretty good. $6? You guys used to pay a dime for a cup of coffee. You guys know what inflation is? Anybody define inflation? Anybody? Come on.
Say
Mr.
Matt.
Kaufman, you've got all the work.
Matt can tell you.
Matt! Come on, man.
It's an increase of the circulation of money, which leads to a resulting increase of prices.
Simply put, inflation diminishes your purchasing power. So in other words, a gallon of gas in 1977, when I got my driver's license, was 38 cents a gallon. We had big old honking vehicles, V8s. Whoa, 38 cents. I used to be able to fill my gas tank on the change I found in between the seats. What's a gallon of gas cost today? But let me get this straight. It does the same thing today as it used to do 40 years ago, right? It moves a car from here to there. 1970, a brand new decked out Cadillac cost about $8,500. Top of the line. You couldn't get a more luxurious car, $8,500. What's it today? Anybody?
125,000.
Could, but typically 60 for the same, sort of the same features, because they got a lot more features today than they do. But a car, 60 grand. But it's still 4 wheels, an engine, some seats, radio, and goes from there to there. That's inflation, you guys. Well, if a brand new car is today, let's see, my wife, we paid $31,000 for a CRV, Honda CRV today, well, a couple years ago. 30 years from now, what's that same car going to be? Same car, same features. Of course, they'll probably run on nuclear fusion, Back to the Future garbage stuff. But you're looking at 90 grand for the same car, right? Maybe 120. I spent $300 and some odd thousand on college tuitions. You know what my parents spent on my tuition 40 some years ago?
$6,000.
$6,000 for 4 years. It was like $1,500 a year. And I was at Grove City, well, they had some help because my dad taught at the University of Pittsburgh and they paid part of the tuition and stuff. But yeah. And today, man, I think you can get out of Grove City, I think it's like, I don't know, 26, 28,000 a year. A year. I know. So anyway, the whole point is this, you guys. My dad, PhD, 38 years at university. My mother, master's degree in nursing. I have a master's degree in theater arts, 4 years of undergrad, and then 12 years of public education. Do you know how much of this financial stuff I was taught in any of those institutions? None. What a huge advantage this group of people have over everybody else. Because I'm telling you now, you have to get it in your brain that when you start making that money, you got to know right up front, I'm setting X amount aside. Here's why. When you get out and get started in that job thing, you are going to be hit with all kinds of issues, financial issues. Mainly, you're going to, probably the thing that I could warn you the most about is credit cards. I told my children, you run up credit card debt, I will cut you off. You know, I give them money for this, I buy them groceries, you know, I'll go here. If I find out you have credit card debt, I'm done. Because 25 years, you guys, you know what the #1 financial disease is in this country, other than not saving and investing enough money? It's debt. Credit card debt. You talk about enslavement. But Dad, you got to have a Visa, MasterCard to buy things on the internet and rent cars, and that's fine. Debit card, Visa, MasterCard, they'll take it. It's not in your checking account. You don't have the cash. You don't buy it. Now, cars and mortgages. A mortgage is an investment most of the time. So borrowing money for a home, not a problem. I get this question. Well, shouldn't I just pay cash for my car? The answer is no. Don't ever use your own money for a car. Why? Anybody? It depreciates. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it's worth less. It depreciates. Use other people's money. I'm talking about lump sums. Money. To buy things that depreciate in value. Does everyone understand what depreciate means? You all right? In other words, the longer you have your car, the less it's worth. But think about this, the longer you have your car, the more you've paid. But you didn't use your own money, which means, and if you understand that keeping your own money invested, growing for you is good, use the other people's money for things that depreciate, okay? With the exception of credit cards. Because there's 6 different ways to calculate interest. Do you know all 6? Do you know all 6? Did you know there were 6? If there's 6 different ways to calculate interest and you don't know all 6, do you think the banks do? Do you think the banks know that you don't know all 6? Do you think they might take advantage of you for that? That's why there's so many commercials about credit card debt, consolidate, hell, bankruptcy, blah. Because they don't understand how it works. Listen, mortgages and car payments, installment loans, that's an installment loan, those are what they call straight interest loans, simple interest loans. You borrow the money, every payment has part principal and part interest. And then over a certain period of time, specified, it goes away. In other words, you're paying less interest the longer you have it. Credit cards don't work like that. What kind of payment do most people make on credit cards? Minimum payment. Do you realize that that's all interest? And how long is it going to take you to pay that off if you keep paying the minimum payment? Yeah, you don't. I had a guy that had $6,000 on a credit card for 21 years. And he looked at me and he said, I don't ever seem to be able to get rid of this. I said, well, you keep buying? No, I cut the card off a long time ago. They send me new ones, I just throw them away. Well, you're only making the minimum payment. You're never going to pay it off. There's your plan. Okay? So you're going to deal with credit cards, installment loans, life insurance. 2 kinds, good kind and bad kind. You know the difference? You have to figure it out. Or call me. Mutual funds. Can anybody tell me what a mutual fund is? Hi, Mr. Kaufman. Go ahead.
It's an investment you make with a group of other people, so it's a larger capital and you can make more money together.
Whether you can make more money is debatable, but you can make large investments when you pool everybody together. So basically, we all throw in our 50 bucks. I'm the manager. Me and my team will go out and research what stocks to buy. We buy those stocks, we put it into a portfolio, and then we take your money to go buy those stocks, and then your shares are represented in a percentage of all the stocks. By the way, there's 3 ways to make money in a mutual fund. Does anybody know what they are? Well, there's only one way to make money at a bank, savings and loan, credit union, insurance company. Anybody know what that is? How do you make money in a bank? How do they pay it? What's the term?
Come on, guys. Say something.
Isn't it just interest?
Interest. Now there's 3 ways to make money in an investment mutual fund. What are they? Come on, give me an investment term. God.
Dividends, maybe?
My buddy Dave Ramsey's going to be disappointed when I go back and tell him, hey Dave, they're going through your book, man, but you're just not hitting it. Anybody hear of a dividend? Right? What's a dividend? No? Well, interest is money you make at a bank. What's a dividend? Money you make in investment. What's the where's it come from?
The business you invest in.
The businesses that you've invested in that mutual fund, made a profit. Well, when companies make a profit, who gets the profit? You guys know companies don't keep profit. Public companies don't keep profits. So you hear about the oil companies or the gas companies or the Microsofts or the, they make so much. No, they don't. The shareholders have to be paid all the profits. What's a profit? Take out your overhead, all your personnel, salaries, your debt payments. What's left over is a profit. So when you hear people gritching and moaning about, these big companies make all these profits, it's you! If you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, if you have a mutual fund in any of those two tax vehicles, it's you! It's your mom and dad. Companies don't keep their profits. They're not allowed. They pay it out to you guys. You want companies to make profits so you can retire someday because you're going to get paid dividends and capital gains. By the way, what's a capital gain? Capital gain. All right, I buy my house for $100,000, and that's what it's worth. 25 years later, it's worth $250,000. What's my capital gain? Say it again.
150,000.
The capital gain is $150,000. In other words, the difference between what I paid and what I could sell it for. And it's a piece of capital. It's tangible. It's something that's real. Okay. Mutual fund shares. Remember that portfolio? They translated the percentages into a share of the mutual fund, right? Because they might buy 200,000 Walmart shares, but you don't own all 200,000. You own a fraction of a share of 200,000 shares of Walmart, along with 150 to 200 other companies. So when the mutual fund share goes from $10 a share to $12 a share, what's the capital gain? Okay, 10.
$2.
Thank you. Come on. Stick with me, people. That's a $2 capital gain. There's a third way that you make money in mutual funds, by the way, called capital appreciation. Remember all those companies that are inside the mutual fund share? Say like Walmart. Let's say the fund manager bought those 200,000 shares at $100 a share. And individual Walmart stock moved from $100 a share to $110 a share. What's the gain if we own 200,000 shares? That $2 million then gets paid out to the mutual fund shareholders in the term of either a long-term or short-term capital gain. You know the difference? Doesn't really matter.
Depends on how long you owned it.
Or how long the mutual funds own that stock. I mean, if they buy it today and a week later it goes up $10, that'd be a short term if they paid it out. And that's entirely up to the fund. Okay? And it has to do with taxes and tax consequences to the shareholders. Okay. So anyway, you've got other things to consider. Savings accounts. Where do we have savings accounts? Which is the best bank? They all stink. Well, what's the going rate at a bank? 2? Woohoo! I wish I knew where that bank was. Go ahead.
Like less than 1%.
Yeah, 0.1. If you're lucky, 0.25 if you find the right deal. If you have enough money to keep in there. That's 1/10 of 1%. You guys, inflation's been 3%. If you're getting 0.1, but your purchasing power is being diminished by 2.90, which direction are you going? Backwards. So you need to understand how mutual funds work. More importantly, what about a 401k? Can anybody tell me what a 401k is? Go ahead. Yes and no. 401k is tax code. It's IRS section 401 subparagraph K that defines an employer-sponsored retirement plan, otherwise known as 401k. And here's how we're going to treat it tax-wise. So when you hear terms like IRA, individual retirement account, a 403B, or sometimes called a TSA, tax sheltered annuity or account, which teachers have, that they're allowed to do those in lieu of a 401k. 403Bs are for nonprofits, 401ks are for-profit companies. But that's all tax code. See, I know you don't know what you're talking about when you ask me, so Mark, what's your 401k paying? Or what's your IRA paying? You don't know what you're talking about. That's tax code, it's not a vehicle. If you ask me, what's the bank paying? 0.1. Or if you ask me, hey, what's the inception rate of return?
Warning.
Fire drill, where do we go, or tornado?
Emergency announcement. A tornado warning has been